Hi everyone, my name is Daria and this is the Decentralized Voices podcast. Here we talk about the both product and human sides of Web3. Today I am excited to welcome Vadym, a DeFi researcher, product manager, startup investor, and a great person I've known since 2018, back when Web3 was simply called crypto. In this episode, we'll discuss product management in DeFi, the cold start problem in startups, and the benefits of building for long term value versus chasing hype. Stay with us for the whole episode and don't forget to like it and share it with your friends. Vadym, I'm excited to have you today. Please give a short overview, maybe some unexpected or non-obvious facts about your career.
Hi Daria, hi everyone. Thank you for having me and such kind words. I'm in crypto since 2017 and I worked on different kinds of products. These were infrastructure level with developers as your users, protocol level, and more traditional like B2B SaaS and B2C projects where the mainstream audience is your user. The latest products I worked on at Colibria. This is infrastructure company that building different solutions for MEV, which is one of the products is the technique is called order flow auctions. Essentially, it's an extra layer for transaction supply chain for Ethereum that helps regular users to be protected from economic attacks such as sandwiching, which is still a big problem, and total value loss is like around like 1 billion. I'm very curious about the developments that are happening mainly on Ethereum and DeFi protocols. Lately, I've been interested in IMM designs and more specifically in liquidity provisioning strategies for personal use. I'm also curious about the other side of the product billings as in investments. So occasionally I support projects via seed investments. I got into crypto pretty randomly, as many, I believe, in 2017. I started as an investment analyst at a VC firm. I was analyzing mainly ICOs and stuff. I understood that maybe there is something more to it. And when there was a bear market at 2019, I was diving into more fundamentally how this and that really works. And in parallel, I was working on a layer 2 project. The turning point was to me at 2019 when in October or November, first time I tried DeFi project that was Compound protocol, and that was pretty mind-blowing experience to me because first of all, that was one of the first real use cases when you had like some real usage and real users using crypto finally. Of course, we had MakerDAO, Uniswap at that point, but somehow landing process felt different, and I firmly thought at the time that I want to be a product manager at DeFi project. That was quite a challenge because at that time there were not that many projects in DeFi generally, and I wasn't quite an experienced product manager myself. And there was the conference ETH Denver 2020. I had to borrow money from my parents to go there. I was super lucky to find a guy who been building a decentralized insurance protocol. Got again a bit lucky to be in DeFi early on. My first official job week was when there was a Black Thursday event with MakerDAO when there was 8 million debt. And our team, we were on the risk call with MakerDAO, and our founder made a proposal to create, at the time, first ever public liquidation pool where anyone could supply DAI, and that would be used to liquidation and act like backstop. And we launched on mainnet in a couple of months, and we didn't have much of the TVL, but we had very great support from the community, and personally for me it was very useful experience. I was super active DeFi user, also doing these angel investments and helping projects with their go-to-market product side.
What the hardest part of building crypto products compared to traditional startups?
If we are talking about product manager job, and if we don't consider more traditional centralized companies like Coinbase, Binance. I didn't work there, but I think that they have more classic approaches to product management and building life cycles. For a product manager in products that are related to blockchain itself, the first difference and challenge, I think the person and the job generally is very versatile, because crypto is generally an intersection between technology, cryptography, economics, finance, governance, and of course it's impossible to be an expert in all these areas, but you have to keep up and to have some basic level understanding of these domains. And also it's quite technical too. I think that's one of the reasons why still many projects struggling with like marketing and product, because a lot of things are, as with Web2, are not abstracted to like Amazon, for instance, and other infrastructure providers, and you have like to understand what's happening under the hood, how transaction works, how like layer 2 works, and also it opens up a lot of opportunities, because in crypto there are a lot of problems and many teams are working on it, and sometimes really interesting things are happening and you have to be like quick to understand them, to integrate them, because again crypto is quite competitive. And I think this is the first point, that it's versatile and quite technical. The second one is it's open, and this of course has its advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is that you have community which you can turn into users and get some user feedback, and you can have some contribution from other people and projects, and people are, I think, more open. So interesting example, for instance, it's might be super like obvious or natural thing to do for product builders, but with Pump Fun, the founder Alan, he shared that he contacted like 3,000
Oh,
people
yeah, I remember.
on
Yeah,
Twitter
remember that.
in cold, like asking of feedback. In retrospect, you think, yeah, that's any founder would do, but it's not the case.
No.
Many don't talk to their users, especially in with such number of people. Sometimes it's complicated because you can't gather some data. A lot of people are anonymous, but also you can gather more data from blockchain before even launching. You can analyze your competitors, build some user profiles, understand their patterns. This is like the second main point, how building products in crypto is different.
Okay, so how do you handle product growth in DeFi, organic user adoption and heavy incentives? So, like, how do you work with this? Any examples of product managers who also work at the same with the same niche and handle these challenges?
Well, of course, ideal situation when you have organic traction and product market fit, but in crypto sometimes it's hard, especially when others are using incentives, and because mindshare, liquidity, and even communities kind of rented, and they can go back and forth. And many quickly realized after 2020, 2021 that yield farming is great to bootstrap, but when the token is launched, you kind of a hostage to the situation, because you have over focus on your token when it now is your liability, because it creates some like negative feedback loop, that the price is bad, everyone is unhappy. And but of course all projects experience that, even like Uniswap, Aave, which have a lot of users and liquidity and product market fit and validation. So in some way it's not a problem, but for many, unfortunately, it is. So there were a lot of experimentation how like to incentivize your audience, but the answer is quite boring, that you have to do to delay incentives as much as possible, and to focus on your trying to understand your organic traction, because also there is a problem with crypto with I think with investments raised or with ecosystems that have a lot of treasury. They like built a product for years, either it's blockchain or even wallet, without launching in public, and keep feeding with incentives. And usually we know how this ends eventually. So many are shifting from incentivization or doing it like very like narrow concrete case for some particular goals. So yeah, it's a bit vague answer, but I think it's trivial that you have to focus on more like traditional product approaches in this case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that many investors are pushing projects to launch their tokens and like to get their money back, but in the final result, it can make this product less attractive to normal users, maybe, or like, yeah, and as you mentioned, sometimes people are not happy about prices and everything that's going on with this token.
Yeah, it's like you have one shot with it, and it's great, both acceleration and bootstrapping technique, but it's better to accelerate because if you use it purely to bootstrap, it's your one chance, and if nothing is happening, then it's only down for price, for usage too, and
And
there are
reputation.
there are maybe some exceptions, but usually it's not.
How do you measure success of a DeFi product? Are there any metrics from product management that can be counted and you can get the understanding of what's going on with the product?
We can use like more traditional metrics, um, revenue growth, retention, the growth of your users. So, and again, the beautiful part that you can build your dashboard on Dune, or again, you can consult to your competitors to see this dynamic and to see whether you can even validate some hypotheses from their metrics. Usually, you're focused on either user side, how you grow with users, how you retain them, or it's revenue. Of course, crypto is kind of like volatile, and fortunately or unfortunately, it's all based on market condition. If it's more down, then of course you have less revenue, less profit, and that's why we see this downfall of OpenSea. Or
How can a product manager work with UX in case when your users are not crypto natives? What can you do to make their UX maybe more smooth, more simple, and more attractive, user friendly?
I think generally user experience in crypto is improved a lot. We have like pass keys. I think that was a pretty major breakthrough because you don't have to manage seed phrase. It of course introduces some new risks, but still it's very convenient. And what you ask about not crypto natives, I think it's a complicated trade-off for projects because still we don't have that many use cases in crypto besides speculation. And if you're being honest, a lot of regular users who come, they use it like either for payments or for speculation, as we saw like streams of Pump Fun where a lot of like regular users were using it, or some audience of Robinhood. It's maybe, I don't have exact numbers, but I think it's a big cohort of not crypto native people who come. And so what it means that revenue of projects are coming from fees, and most of the volume is generated by bigger players. For instance, in application, I forgot to tell at the beginning that the latest product I was working on, it's a Telegram trading app, which allowed to buy and sell coins in Telegram app on any chain very quickly. It was an answer like to meme coin hype. And in our particular example, for most of the Telegram bots, 70% of volume is done like by 5-10% of users. Personally, again, as a product manager, I was communicating with all our top users. We have a dedicated separate chat for our top users, and I was like 24 hours support line. That's again about communication with users. And yeah, so in order to serve this audience, you have to provide some tools which are more like advanced, and like making a basic version and pro version like Binance and other trust exchanges might be not enough, because even though the operation might be the same, like to swap or to send, it still involves a lot of like different using projects and solutions, and you can lose your focus. So like for an app, like it's really hard to merge these two audiences, either both non-crypto natives and crypto natives. We have great tools right now that they have smooth onboarding where you like even don't really interact with chains. You don't have to to worry about the chains or less, but it's not something you can do a lot in this application aside making transfers or simple buys. But again, I don't know the numbers of these companies and projects, but usually it's really hard like to make some revenue from this audience. So I think it's the one of the biggest trade-offs. So and that's why we see more successful apps that's who focus on crypto native audience, and all apps we can check on DeFi, it's like trading apps or exchanges. It's
Yeah.
a bit early for that audience, not crypto native, but things are improving.
Yeah, things are improving, and I guess that wallets are making their best. They are very understandable products for mass users, like very simple and similar to banking applications. Also, crypto exchanges, I mean centralized crypto exchanges, have their like pro dashboard and for beginners.
With simple interfaces, it's hard to differentiate and provide some advantages because it can be quickly copied. But with Web2, it's also the case. But again, because not crypto native use cases are not super mature, yeah, I think it's still a big challenge how to serve this kind of audience and like, I don't know, with some social apps, games. But right now it's more on a phase of experiment, and I would argue that it's not
It's not about mass adoption, yeah.
yeah, and they also, I don't think, have traction all expected.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I do believe that they don't have so much money earning from that. Do you think that community is everything, as many people say, or it's part of the product process but not very important? Should the product manager, for example, or the whole team stick to the community and rely on their ideas and their reviews and all this feedback? So what do you think about this?
Wanted or not, community is of course a big part of any crypto project, even if you're not a protocol level product, but just regular app, you still usually have a open Telegram or Discord. It's exception if you don't have. And I think if you have some resource or opportunity as a product manager or generally a team, you should use it for your better goals. Obviously, I think it's beneficial because you can, first of all, you can faster validate your hypothesis. In crypto, I believe feedback loops are faster. As I mentioned before, people are more open, genuinely, or expecting some financial reward after that, but it doesn't matter because you still can ask them questions because they use other apps, your app. The whole product idea or features is great, especially you can go to your competitor chat and like screen all the messages, especially if your competitor is stronger, you can
Yeah.
really distill some useful information. And of course, everyone can do this, so it's kind of like equalize things, but still you have like more information inputs and it's better. And of course, there are great examples of community that is your marketing or the best example I believe is Hyperliquid. It's so perfect storm in a good way, and they have like the strongest mind share right now. Like every strong QLs traders like ending their tweets with Hyperliquid. They work for you. Everyone is happy, and it's enormous network effect. I don't remember cases there is such strong support. Of course, they have this fair launch, and latest example, it can be like Yorn Finance, but it's not super relevant right now. But with Hyperliquid is a great example when community is very important for you and they help to drive your growth. It's not even, might be not about the product itself. So they created these perfect conditions. And I think it's also unfair advantage. It's impossible to replicate, I believe. Like many teams tried this before many times, and it's yeah, so it's a good example. But there are bad examples. For instance, again with PumpFun, it's hard to say how it really impacted, but many people were not really happy with their token release. Maybe so they and the competitors started to gain more market share, like Bongbot and others. And from outside, as a it's interesting to observe their actions, like strategic actions. And my personal interpretation is that they now, in this hostage situation, that they have to please their audience, do this buybacks, which is again like narrative from Hyperliquid. Like they need to worry about the token price because again, at some extent, it's your feature and sometimes it even becomes your product. But when you're focused on a token, you can do everything and you pay less attention to your main product. And it's hard to judge right now, but we will see in the long run how it's play out.
As a product manager, can you give your maybe advice how to understand whether a protocol idea has long-term value or it's more about hype?
If the product, tool, project has any particular value, that's because people really use it and it solves some problem. In crypto, of course, it's more complicated because it's very narrative driven and it's interlinked with tokens and a lot of incentivization, grants, and sometimes it's you go to a website, a product can raise from really good investors like Andreessen Horowitz, and sometimes you go to a project website, even though it's infrastructure, it's of course it can be more complex, and you spend like 30 minutes on their landing page. You don't understand what is written there. You think maybe you're stupid. You go to the documents, they might not have even documentation, or of course there's no like application. And so in crypto in particular, it's honestly and simplicity and I think it's problem with ecosystems because the scale of this is quite big. There are a lots of grants, again, accelerators, and but it can be test net for years, and it's still not clear if there is value there. But sometimes it can be a very simple Telegram tool, like I don't know, it can be price bot in Telegram that right now has like can have like 70K monthly active users. When you can put a ticker or a contract address of a token in Telegram and see some value, volumes, and it can be maintained by one person, but it's much more useful for many people. And so, as I say, one of the best ideas when you do it for yourself, and then people start asking like, can I use it too? And this is actually how some of the Telegram bots, for instance, they emerge because it's quite a new phenomenon and also interesting from product perspective because it's a lot of crypto people hate it on Telegram bots because they are custodial and not full. I mean,
Not
yeah, it's real
decentralized.
and not
Yeah.
fully decentralized, and it's not like spirit of crypto. But despite this, like for instance on Ethereum, even it was not a peak, but like 30% of all trading transactions were made by these Telegram bot users, and all these Telegram bots and apps, they iterated quickly and they brought to really improving user experience, some this MEV protection, some reward protection, when you don't have care of gas prices or you can parameterize them. I wouldn't call it like silent revolution, but a lot of things people talk about account abstraction, but like no one is using that. But here, like hundreds of like thousand people using it.
Many projects in Web3 face the cold start problem, like liquidity, users, trust, and etc., etc. So a lot of them. From your perspective, what's the best way to get started?
I think that many projects they lack this boring clean startup approach when you like you don't build a technology and then look for a solution, but which still is quite popular nowadays. But you really try to solve some real users problem, and you just start like step by step, slowly, and start with one problem and try like to see if there is audience for that, or you have users, and then like I think it will happen organically. And yeah, but of course it's complicated in this market, chaotic, where it's very narrative driven, and when everyone incentivizes for liquidity and you can't or don't want to, it's a very complex question, and the answer again is quite simple. You have to iterate quickly and to find balance between again narratives and long-term value, because there are a lot of chains and you want to launch on that change a chain or add some AI components. And sometimes if you add this, you can have an edge to it and it can help with bootstrapping. But sometimes you can over focus making a bet on that, and it will be a turning point into wrong direction. It's more about in crypto is like balancing this again hype and long-term value. I think it's more a simple approach when you just iterate quickly, not spending over a lot of time as many projects are doing.
I know many founders, marketers, designers, developers who are built on public and who are well known in the crypto ecosystem, but not so many are product managers. Should product manager be a public person and be a representative of the product?
In 2020 started a product DeFi product managers community, and that it had a bit of interest because exactly the same question, like how we can combine and share experience. And I don't know, I have impressions that there are generally not that many product managers in that in crypto. And the answer to that might be that crypto is still in early, not that early, but still in early stage, and it's still startups mainly. And traditionally, you hire product managers, the first product manager, sometime later, and all these product responsibilities are done by a founder. That's why there is just not many space for having a founder and product manager. It was always a challenge to find some interesting project because not that many offers this position, and again, it can be complicated to collaborate, especially if a founder heads on, which he or she should be. First answer is that every project generally has a marketer or designers, of course, but not product manager. I think maybe not like publicity from, I don't know, PR perspective, but product manager definitely has to be as a face, like
contact person.
Yeah, your customer advocate, be with every user request, question, because it's additional insight you can use. You should be the person who knows the best path to a product, at least how you think. And of course, users' feedback, not necessarily might be super objective for you, but still it's great input and you serve to them. And again, for instance, in our product, most of the volume was done by top users. And of course, if they want some feature, you should like listen to them and try and solve their issues. So, and many great founders and product managers are doing this. They're like chronically online, terminally online. And I think it's also a good indicator how founders or product managers, they interact with their community, because sometimes there's interesting stories when like in Discord, team ignores some security questions and in 1 or 2 months there is a hack or something like that. And
Yeah,
I think you can also analyze project from an investing perspective, how again your team interacts with your users, and if the product team is not doing this, you can be instantly bearish on them. As an advocate for your users, definitely you have to be, and designers too.
If you were advising a new crypto product manager today, what's the one piece of advice, or maybe a few of them, you would give?
You have to be everywhere. You have to understand the meta of everything, because again, a lot of proposals are being worked on Ethereum levels that can impact, like layer 2 becomes faster and you might integrate it, or it can really impact you. A lot of teams are working on to solve some interoperability issue, or like to make one balance for a stable coin across all chains. So you have to be, and it's not just market research or competitor research, because crypto again is super broad and a lot of parts to it. Technical, product, UX. I believe that a product manager should be very deep into that, understand, be everywhere and follow, keep up, because again, it's mainly startups and using more traditional product frameworks like jobs to be done or customer journey maps. Of course, it's all useful, but sometimes it's just about surviving, can be super fast. So just to be closer to users, and it's with everything what's happening in the market.
A lot of people in the market are not aware of even jobs to be done framework or some basic things, and they should be educated. But yeah, sometimes you need just to survive and move forward. Okay, thank you very much for this this insightful conversation. Guys, I'll leave all Vadym's links under this episode so you can follow him, ask him questions, and see what's next in product management in DeFi and in general in the DeFi ecosystem. So thank you again, and see you in the next episodes. Bye.
Thank you.